Good evening. It is Tuesday today, I think. It's Tuesday. Anyway, I'm just about to do something, so let me mute my microphone a moment, otherwise you'll probably hear something really horrid. Hang on a moment. There we go. Whiny dogs, that's what the world needs. Nothing needs more. We always need more whiny dog. Let's truly be honest. Right, so, we are back at the pillow. Yesterday, we made a ton of these. Now, these haven't got the ball bearings on this end, but are functional bobbins. And I varnished them today. Now, worryingly, there's lots of little bits of white stuff, but I think that rubs off. Because that's the sponge breaking down. Yeah, it wipes off, see. So, because what you can't see, if I pick these up, for example, don't know how well it will show on camera, but there's lots of little bits of white on some of them. So like this one, I don't know how well that shows, to be honest. It's probably a bit too small, but there's loads of little white bits. That's just the fluff of the sponge breaking up. So, but we did 40 of them. We finished. So we now have 90 technical bobbins. Now, without the little ball bearings on the end, we don't have the true rows on the end. But of course, I can wind thread on the shaft and put a knot at the top. So, you know, they're usable. But obviously I will stick the ball bearings. But what I have done is I did order me the glue gun. But I'm going to have to wait till Saturday. Yeah, you imagine the joy in my heart. Saturday for the 1mm nozzle to arrive. And when the 1mm nozzle arrives, I can stick it in the hole and gloop some gloop in the hole and put the ball bearings in. So from that perspective, I am kind of set up, ready to go. I could arguably put thread on and glue ball bearings on later, as the phrase goes. So, but now, back to bobbins. God, it's hot in here again. Swear it's got hotter in the time it took me to go and fill my drink. Right. What do I want to do next? I want to do that bit. So, we shall poke you up here. We don't want you either. Not just yet. And we don't need you. We do, however, need you. For we are going to put this pin back in, because one of you's come off. Well, actually, it's going to be easier to put you around the pin, isn't it? There you go. You around the pin like that. And then we're going to need... Now, don't need you, because that's the whole point. Make sure that pin's down. And off we go. So I was going to start earlier, but I got somewhat sidetracked in watching our dear friend Nauticelt do some rope work. For I have not seen rope work being done in person. I know some of the theory, but not a lot. Saw that leak thing. So how's everybody doing? Listen, yeah, would be good hear from you. I saw that. I watched you get longer as you rolled then. That's just rude, bobbin. Rude. See, you've got longer. This is why I get so annoyed with these bobbins. I don't know why. Now I know it's not just these bobbins. All my bobbins seem to. So it's clearly a Liz thing. But it doesn't make it any less annoying, you know. It really doesn't. See, you've run out, that's why. You're slippy. Now, I put the thing. Don't need a huge amount, but I still need enough. And as we all know, Liz has no idea how much that actually is. So we will put on far too much because, well, why not? You can always use it for the next project. After all, it's not like there won't be another. So the interesting thing is I reckon this is used, this half of a curtain has used around a spool and a sniff of, so it would mean that two spools would have equaled, say 2.5 spools would have equaled a curtain, and at something like £8 a spool, it works out as about, you know, I don't know, 19-20 quid. So which isn't a bad price for the materials, but as we all know, time-wise, certainly has been a little less favourable. After all, it's middle of June now, and we started in September, and this is square number 9. So with that in mind, we are not exactly talking a quick and easy thing to do. And where the friggin' heck have my scissors gone? I had them earlier. I did have them earlier. September. I had scissors. They were in a thing. I had scissors. I did have scissors. I've got many pairs of scissors, and I am forever losing my feckin' pair of scissors, and I end up buying more pairs of bloody scissors because I lose them. And I really thought I wouldn't lose these, but I'm doing a pretty damn good job at the moment. There they are. Considering that I only ever use my scissors sitting in this chair, you'd think that there'd be some form of scissor mounting or something under the chair or something. But no, apparently not. Hello! Hello! You can eat. Well, I've got magnets and everything, but I still don't know where it all goes. Is this the wrong bloody stuff? No. I can hear Nauticelt in one ear. I can, well, you're behind a window, but I can hear you, so, and yes, I can see you, because I can change windows, so. That's okay, we can forgive Cap Sugar Bear. Nauticelt is streaming on Facebook. Yes, I can hear Nauticelt on Facebook. And so, we can have a very disjointed conversation now, what's with 2 loads of lag and... So, yes, I'm just, oops, take the thing off, damn it. Right. Oh, it's so hot here, Sugar Bear. I would give a breasticle for the ability to have air conditioning and not pay a fortune. I don't know how you lot do it. My electricity bill is already sufficient that because I have computers on all day, because that's what I do for a living after all. 3. I now need 2 of you. So yeah, I have computers on all day, and you know, I live alone, so realistically in that terms, so I'm just trying to move my, I think I need to move that, that's probably better. You know, so it's not like, you know, there's 6 of us with, you know, 12 different laptops and, you know, all the rest of it. It's just me, my computer and my work laptop. And I run up a big enough bill, thank you. It works out, well, without heating, my bill's about 80 quid a month. With heating, it's about 140. So if I'm cold, I've got the heating on. It works out about 140 quid a month. And, well, I couldn't afford air conditioning on top of that, frankly. I really couldn't. But right here, right now, worth it. It really would be worth it, because I'm all hot and sticky and horrible. I could shout at Bitchface to turn my fan on for me. The only problem is the fan's not actually Alexa controlled. And as a result, the power can go to it, but it just... Oh, shut up! That's right, the one in the hallway woke up with, I don't know how to help you with that. The one that's sitting just beyond my arm's reach, kind of over there, didn't notice. But the one about 5 metres that way did. Gotta love her. Alright. Actually, I use the male voice because the female voice just got on my nerves in the end. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I don't know whether that's because I'm female or not, but I just, after a while, have, it's like Siri, it's, you know, the voice just grated, so I've changed it to British male, because it's a slightly deeper pitch and slightly less graty, but it's still slightly irritating, especially when you're not talking to it, and, you know, I know other people who have this problem with it, so... You're talking and the one in the room with you will ignore you, right? It'll sit there and deny that you even spoke to it. The one upstairs that you can't hear the responses from will wake up and you vaguely hear something upstairs of and you're like, what the fuck? So you're screaming to shut up because it's misheard you and it's, you know, playing some form of, you know, Mongolian folk music at you, and you're like, I didn't ask for that. Yeah. So, yeah. I am very much a girl of electrics. It's not electric. I think that's part of the reason I like a lot of the hobbies that I do, is because they're not electric. And I know that sounds really, really weird, but because they're not modern, because they don't require fanciness, they're all me. So my spinning wheels, I have got an electric spinning wheel, I'm not going to pretend that I don't. But, you know, in principle, I've got a proper spinning wheel, so it's that kind of thing, is that you sit there going, well, you know, so when the power strike hits, I'm good, I've got plenty to do. The only thing I don't really have is when it's dark and I'm hungry. That kind of is a bit of a letdown, but then I've also got a gas hob and matches, so I can always have a cup of tea. So that's distinctly a thing. That was not the right direction. Yes, it was. So I'm just checking which way I twisted something. Right. Okay. You've made it to the bottom. Congratulations. You now get a holiday. So, now we want you in this stick, actually. Let's truly be honest. You need to go in this stick so that you're out of the way, because it'll be a while before we're back to you. Not very long, actually, but it will be a while. And we need to extract some of you, all but two, I think. All but you two. You can go in the pile over there. So you don't quite have this when doing strips. And I think it's a lot of this faffing around and shortening of bobbins that truly diminishes the joy of square. It's not that the square is a bad thing, for it is not a bad thing. And I don't dislike the square, but we already know that when joined together, it's going to look like a bunch of squares joined together. And that is preying on my soul. Hence, the strips. So I am looking forward to strips. So I'm just checking. Just checking Nauticelt's going the right way around, because, well, that was the thing. Right. So Nauticelt is making a mat. And it really is a little like we have sat down in a room. Now, admittedly, he's a good few miles from me, but it is like having a friend next to you who's doing, just because it's a different craft is irrelevant. But, you know, it's two people sitting down doing some crafting. I've been watching him since I got home. And then when he got to the middle of tightening up the round that he was doing, I thought best to get on with mine, otherwise it would never happen. Because we all know that I can be good at getting distracted, and so I got on with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I join some then? No. Oh, you flipping donut woman. You arse. Stupid woman! Turn into Renault now. You stupid woman! I got to the end over here, forgetting that those two are nothing to do with it. So there's 4. I need to take this pin out temporarily. Yoink! undo the twist, and grab these two, for I need them to join the party. Stupid me. So at least Nauticelt doesn't have this problem. You can either pull it one way or you can pull it the other way. Me, I've got lots of bits of string and they're all doing weird things at me. And they get hooks on things, and he gets to have hammers and nails. I get to have stupid pins and a lot of bobbins. And his is a lot bigger than mine. Not the size matters. You understand. So, now, let's go back through these. So how you been, Sugar Bear? It's good of you to drop in. I appreciate it. But this isn't right either. Oh, for fuck's sake, woman. Breathe in. Breathe in. Stupid. How can I do... If I get it any more wrong, I should be taken to the nut house. Stupid woman. I am so stupid. For there is not a pear coming out behind that bin, for which there should be a pear coming out from behind that bin, because, well, apparently I'm stupid. That's how this works. Because there are supposed to be 5, but there are supposed to be 5 pairs on this, Jenny, and that's fine. But there should be a pair here. And so that means you are not involved. Please naff off now before I put this pin back in here. And I go work my way back. So there are times like this when I sit there going, so how did I get that so wrong? Because, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, that only gives us 5 bobbins. But if you notice, this pair, I see why I'm confused. Deep breath, back we go again. This is, people say you have to be patient for this. Hello! Hello! Dear God. People say you have to be patient for this shit. Hello. This is not for the patient. This is for those who are too stubborn to give in. There is a chasmously huge difference between patience and stubbornness. I am stubborn. This is pissing me off. So, what have I done wrong? Well, the short answer is, I can't tell which way these feckin' bobbins are twisted. I hate it when I can't tell. I can't tell if threads are over the top or underneath, which is why these two that come out here, between these two bobbins, shouldn't, is the short answer. So I need to pull this pin out, and undo this, and undo this, because I didn't need to cross them, and do over, over. Now you're in the right place. Now you go in here, like that. But you see, I'm not convinced that that's right either. Because you are supposed to go to the corner. Which implies I fucked up somewhere else. Now, this is not what you want to work out at this point. Now, why is this a problem? Because if it means I've missed a pin or somehow done the same pin twice, which can't happen, but it means I'm likely missed a pin, but then that shouldn't have worked out. So somewhere in here, in amongst the scrumminess, I fucked up somehow, but I don't see how. It's not that obvious. Especially when you can't get your head in there because there's like 8 inches of bobbin between the two, and everything. So let me take a really good close-up picture. We'll use my camera to see if I can see what I did wrong. See? Is it that obvious? Really? Is it really that stupid? All these pins are out by one. All of them. Every last frigging little bloody one of them. Now, with any luck, I can scoot them all up and undo the faux pas. But it takes strategic and potentially a lot of swearing. So bear with me, as this means I am counting pinholes that I can't see because they're underneath the lathe, and I need to move them all up one. So this is what I hate about this project, this hobby, is that it makes it very difficult because, like I was saying about the roller pillows, you can't see what you've worked on. You can only see what you're going to work on. I pulled the pin out. Oh, shit. Oh. Be alright. You go in there. I think I put it back in the right bit of... Well, it's a bit late if I didn't. Right. Somewhere in here. There's a pin out. Oh, there it is. Then you... This explains a lot. You go in there. It's amazing how many more pins there seems to be when you're coming to fix it than when you were doing it. So, I need to grab this pin, which is being awkward. And you need to come over to there. You need to come up to there. This is now going to make sense. The reason it didn't make sense is because, and I need to tension these, is because this feeds into the corner one, and well, it wasn't because it couldn't, because I was one pin out the whole way down. Now the tension between the others is generally enough that it won't matter that I screwed it up, and I don't need to undo all of that. But principle is I'm a douche, right? So that's definitely a thing. And let's, like always, shortens and bobbins. So Mika Ketsme, how you doing? You aren't out yet because I need to include you with this one. Like that. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to turn the fan on. It is like 9 million degrees. Alexa, what's the temperature on the downstairs thermostat? 24.5 degrees. Alexa, fan on. I know it's only wafting hot air around, but it will help. A fan to waft the slightly hot, sweaty Liz is always good, appreciated. Right. Don't worry, I'll complain it's cold in a minute. 1, 2, 5. Now I stick a pin in the hole in the corner. That's a good thing. That now matches up. That's good. We now do this. Get rid of you. There. That makes some sense. Now we go back this way. And you. There. That looks better. That looks more like it should. There. That. Got the pins. Steal a pin from there. Let's make you shorter because you're annoying. You now go over there. Don't know why I've got it oscillating. You should just have it pointing at me, really. That'd be nice. Could do with the fan. Shorter. Not that I haven't already, about 8 times. glad we spotted that one though, that earlier problem. I think part of the problem is because I'd screwed up so many times getting to the bottom. I knew the right hand column of the gloss stitch coming down was right, but it hadn't worked out. I'd actually screwed up the left, because although I had the right number of pairs going out and it still added up, somehow it kind of didn't. I don't know how that worked out. And I think this is one of the great mysteries for me of lace making, is that so many times I've worked out that it's wrong. Fine, that's perfectly acceptable. You made a mistake, you worked out what's wrong with it. But then afterwards, you go to fix it, but it's not like you had the wrong number of bobbins. You just knew something was wrong, and it's kind of like, so you must have made two mistakes, but they've counterbalanced each other out, and you don't necessarily know what you did now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because you only really saw the one that screwed it up, not the one that that levelled it out. Because clearly, when I was doing it yesterday, I knew I was out when the pairs on this side coming in didn't match up with the bottom. But I didn't have too many bobbins while I was making it. So how did that work out? How did I achieve that? That's kind of a miracle. So I don't know. I really should be able to be making these longer, not shorter, but it always seems to be making them shorter. This one's kind of got a bit twisted. I'm still getting cramp in my hands from making those bobbins, you know. Clearly I don't eat enough salt or something. It's either that or I've got horrendous arthritis. much. I need to empty that one. It's easier said than done because it's got wrapped around the string. Something I'm very adept at doing. There we go. Okay. Still too friggin' long. Stupid one. Oh, it is stupidly hot in here. Problem is if I open the double doors to the garden, which will be cooler, well, I'd like to think it's cooler actually. Don't actually know that, do we? Let's ask. And the weather app says cooler outside. Oh dear God, no! Oh my lord. So, we British get a little touchy about the heat round about now, which is, you know, today was 24 degrees. Now, at lunchtime, 24 degrees isn't quite so bad. It's the afternoon, evening of the hot days that become the problem. Now, it never used to be like this, but because it used to cool down in the evening, whereas now, it doesn't seem to. So, how do I express this? If today was 24, tomorrow is 27, Thursday says 29, Friday says 30, Saturday says 31, '24 is already freaking hot. God help my soul. Absolutely, God help my soul. Oh, by the way, you won't hear from co-worker today. The phone will not be pinging. His phone is dead. It's Nauticelt. It's better than beach weather. It is the hide in the bottom of a basement and don't come out weather. And it is, now don't get me wrong, 30 degrees in another country can be pleasant. I mean, I've stood in places at 40 and it was fine. Hell's teeth, I put a jumper on at 36 because it was cold. But 31 here in the UK is intolerable. It is unpleasant. And it automatically makes me think of a co-worker who technically works for a different company now. But he sits in his conservatory to do his job. And, well, conservatories are like little greenhouses. The man is not designed for this. He's not 20, you know. He can retire this year without any shade. And because he's done his full term, he's 65. And I think of him on days like this because he will have been absolutely roasting. And I love him to bits. He's a great guy. So I shall have to make sure he's prepared for tomorrow. Just because I worry for his health. But to be honest, at that weather, screw that. I might go and get the big fan. I've got a huge, like, not so frequent gyms, but you know the gym fans that are like the size of this mat? I've got one of those. I've got one, and I don't care if it sounds like a harrier. 1, 2, 3, 4. If it means I am not burning up and sweating and boiling in my own juices, I will bring both of them. I think I've got 2. It's upstairs. I can bring it down. I will have to do that to get some airflow. For some reason, this sitting room that I'm in is insect superhighway. The moment you open a door or a window, but not both, they come in the open one. Even if you've only opened it a crack, it is standard insect law of travel applies. 1 millimeter crack and the 68 wasps have come in, right? But they come in, and then of course they can't get out the other end, which is of no help to anyone whatsoever. So but I do foresee that tomorrow I'm going to have to forego the insect highway and open all my doors and windows before I roast, because I also worry for the doggies in this weather, because they're not lying on the bloody cooling mat even though they know what it's for and there's nothing wrong with it. So they will get hot, and Rory especially is a bit of a sun worshipper. Now, I have no problem with that. If you want to go and lie in the sun while I work, buggers, I'm not going to stop you. But he gets roastingly hot. I mean, seriously, I eat my cooked dinners at the kind of temperature that he gets. They are that hot. He can be that hot to the touch. In fact, I've eaten colder McDonald's. Some especially colder, but we'll ignore the one freak, really cold one that was basically still frozen. But yeah, I've eaten colder McDonald's. I've had colder takeouts than that dog when he's on a hot day. So, and he doesn't like, because he's a dog, he doesn't like it if you wet his ears and head and back and stuff to help keep him cooler. He doesn't like it. They both don't. But, I mean, they do sleep a fair bit. The only problem is he's in really hot worry. I worry that they're not actually sleeping. Because they'll do some form of death battle crap. Yeah, she's breathing. That's alright. So's he. That's alright. It's good. But I do worry because they do their death battle stuff. And so they'll be really, 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 really hot. And then they'll lie down. And I always worry that they'll get some form of heat stroke or whatever. And I don't want to have to be doing that. So always worry for that. But that's what we do as dog owners. We worry for our furry friends. For they cannot speak to us and tell us that they've got a headache. Although, I've still not forgotten the look on her face. I get a lot of migraines. Pretty much every day. To the point that I can't stop doing stuff should I have one. And I had a manager who really couldn't understand that. Because he'd always say things like, well, if I had a migraine, I couldn't work. No, boss. And I really believe me that there is nothing I'd rather do than stop working and go and lie down. However, if you've got one that lasts like 6 weeks, or as I have on multiple occasions, or generally mine will last a week or so, you're going to have me a week. Bear in mind, the place I worked for basically frowned upon anything more than 3 days off in a year. You're going to put up with that? Because if the answer's no, now you know why I'm here and doing this. It's I've learned to adjust because, employers do pay us money, allegedly, to do work. Well, then you kind of expect me to do my bit and to earn my money. So, well, here I am, because if I took time off every time I had a headache, I wouldn't be here. And then I wouldn't have any money, so I need the money, therefore I am here and I am doing my bit. I'm just going to be wearing shades, possibly a duffel coat in the summer, and trying to pretend that I don't exist a little bit. And he was really quite surprised that I would continue working. It's like, I can't not. You know, I really can't expect you to, you know, put up with me being in the department and not actually doing any work. I know there are plenty of people in the world who manage to succeed in doing that, and I think I've worked with some of them, but, you know, in fact I know a couple I've definitely worked with in my past, but, yeah. I'm sure some people have thought the same of me. But I work by the philosophy my dad had, which was the day you've run out of things to do, you've worked yourself out of a job, but that is the aim. Especially when you work in IT. I did work today. I did stuff. I had meetings. I fixed some stuff. Wasn't very exciting, but I did stuff. I did the things. I did that which was needed of me. Which, let's face it, there was a lovely meme I saw on something. You know how it is. They love showing you short videos and memes on things, so you always get confused as to where you saw it. But there was basically it was a picture of a huge tanker, or the arse of a huge tanker, and its rudder and propeller, and it said, you know, this man was paid, I don't know, 200 grand a year, and it was like, and you know, when the time came, they called him out because they couldn't get this thing to work. He came up, he looked at it for a little bit, did this kind of strokey beard thing, and then whacked it with a hammer, and it was fixed. And they went, oh, how much is that? And he went, 200 grand. And he went, that's outrageous. And it's like, you're not paying 200 grand for the 30 seconds and a whacking of a hammer. You're paying 200 grand for the knowledge that you only need one hammer and 30 seconds to fix it. And it is, it's very true. You know, when you go to the doctor, doctors are not on astronomical salaries because, you know, in 10 minutes they can write you a prescription for some antibiotics. You know, you're paying them for the years of medical training and all the rest of it they went to know that that's what you need. And my job kind of falls into that category in that, you know, I know my stuff, I know what I know what I don't know. And believe me, there is plenty I don't know. I'm sure there are people out there, co-workers who go, but that's not true. Oh, freaking hell it is, but Google is a marvellous thing for all the things that you've forgotten, stroke, don't know yet. And of course, part of it is the art of knowing how to Google for the things that you don't know. So, which is also a skill in its own right, and one that far too many do not seem to possess. I hang out on a lot of programming forums, and the number of times you just want to kind of reach through and slap them a bit because, oh, I don't know how to do this. Well, if you Googled that, there are like 28 YouTube videos, you know, a bunch of stuff in the official documentation, and all explaining exactly how to do that. So, my friend, what is it about them that you didn't understand? Well, I haven't looked. Well, that's where you went wrong. I have repeatedly said over the last few months, I found myself saying it even more, which is that if you have a problem and you can't explain your problem, that's exactly why you can't fix it. Because if you can't explain what your problem is, you don't know what to look for to fix it. Now, we all have brain farts where your brain goes, I refuse to tell you the words that you require. Do not get me wrong, we all have those. And you know the name of it, but right here, right now, your brain has denied all knowledge of ever possibly remotely having any information in that direction. And the idea of knowing, therefore, what it's called is just not on the cards. It's like when you're trying to name an actor and you can name like 96 other movies that he's been in or whatever, but you can't think of his name. And me and my ex-husband spent weeks, and I kid you not, weeks, when we were trying to name the actor, bear in mind I know who it is, who was the lead actor for Falling Down. Because if you've never seen Falling Down, it summarises later adult life absolutely. General premise of the very start of the film, without spoiling the entirety of the film, is that a middle-aged to slightly older, so probably about 40 something dude, is going to work, and basically Murphy's Law has applied. All that can go wrong does. And it is his descent into frustration that is the majority of the film. And if you've ever frankly existed beyond the age of about 40, this film will resonate with you. Now, at the time, I was not even 30, but I still resonated and understood. I just had not personally felt it to the same level that this dude had. Well, I can honestly tell you now I have. But it is that kind of... so the dude who is the star player of that is Michael Douglas, right? And we're sitting in a pub, drinking lemonade and eating food. And I keep coming up... My brain keeps telling me it's Kirk Douglas, which of course would be his son. At least it was close. My ex-husband was convinced that it was Steven Seagal, but knew it wasn't Steven Seagal, but couldn't think of a better name for it. Now, they don't look alike. At least I had the right family, you understand. But we spent weeks, and I kid you not, literal weeks, trying to work out the name of this dude. Because, of course, IMDb was not a thing back then, and so you couldn't just Google it. And it was just one of those things, is that you find yourself going, I know the answer. I know I should know the answer, because it's not like I don't know his name. Now, there are plenty of actors that I am very terrible at actor names, because, you know, you get to know them as a particular character, or you can name 12 of their characters, but for some reason it's not sinking in what they're actually physically called. Now, obviously there are some actors that you do know. Naturally, whether they're obscure ones or otherwise is irrelevant. But you do know the name of some of them, but it turns out in this particular case, not this one. So, for example, the guy who plays the original Hank in X-Men. Now, he was in something else, and I went, that's Hank from X-Men. And Trev looked at me like I'd grown a head and went, that's Seinfeld. And I'm like, what the fuck are you on about? Because I've never watched Seinfeld, have I? Turns out I didn't realise it's the same dude. At the same time, we were watching something, and it was like, oh, that's Tommy Lee Jones. No, it's not, says Trev. Up comes at the end of the trailer, starring Tommy Lee Jones. And I'm like, nah. But we had, what one was it? The guy who plays McCoy in the new Star Trek films. This is why I don't know his name, so bear with me. He also was in for Ragnarok. No, it wasn't Ragnarok. It was... That's not right. The one where they go to the land of the lost. Anyway, they go there, and so Thor's, you know, but he plays Heimdall in that, and we were watching some. I thought, oh, it's McCoy, and he goes, no, it's not. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. He's been in a few films, you know. But sometimes you recognise them, sometimes you don't. I mean, to be fair, I think one of the easiest ones that most people miss was Christopher Lloyd as Fester, because, you know, Fester in the films is a short, dumpy guy, whereas, well, Christopher Lloyd's 6 foot tall and skinny, you know. It doesn't look... And to be fair, it doesn't really look a lot like him. It's the voice. It was the voice that gave it away for me. But also, Christopher Lloyd's a Klingon in The Search for Spock. Most people miss that one. There's been a few games, and it's kind of like, that sounds like... And it's turned out we were right, so I can't remember what we were watching. I'm trying to think what it was. It was quite a recent game. It was this year. There was a game that came out, and there was a lot of talking in it, and I went, I've got it, I've got the game. Stop licking my damn hands, dog. I've got the game. I've got the game. I must be able to name it if I look at my games list, ain't I? I played it for a fair bit and then kind of got bored of it, which is... He is a silly dog. I love him a lot, but it was a thing that got remade. Oblivion. So in Oblivion, it's Patrick Stewart, and I recognise Patrick Stewart from The Off. Rory, I do love you. Yes, I do. I do. I do. Yes. I do. For those of you who... I can't remember what show it is because I'm crap with names, right? But there's a show and it's kind of like, well, he's your boyfriend. And it's kind of like, you know, some lame-o who, frankly, you wouldn't touch with a 20-foot barge pole. And I can't remember what the joke's from, but they use it in Doctor Who briefly. When they go down the bunker, or they've been down the bunker, they've picked up the British kid as a spare. They then go on to Satellite 5, and he does stupid stuff, and he turns around to Rose and goes, that's your boyfriend. Not anymore, he's not, she says. But basically that kind of joke. We were joking about someone, I sent to my co-worker, who someone had said something really, this particular person said something nice about my co-worker, and I went, he's your boyfriend. The next couple of days, they said something nice about me, and I got back, he's your boyfriend. I went, no, I've got Rory for that. I'm sorry, that role is already taken. But yeah, the strange world I live in. It's the things that keep us sane. So yes, my co-worker is a bit quiet without my co-worker. Might mean I get an earlier night though. Because, well, by the time I've uploaded this, mine probably not. But at least I won't be getting, you know, 6 AM texts from him tomorrow, so. Because that's also a thing. If it's any consolation, I do the same in return. So while he has also sent me text messages at 2 in the morning, I occasionally randomly send him stuff at 2 o'clock in the morning just to kind of get my own back. It's usually memes. I'm not going to say we're having deep, meaningful conversations here. It will often be memes of stuff, you know, that kind of resonates with work stuff or something that we were talking about and, you know, looks like they've been on our meetings or whatever, you know. So yes, hot glue gun arrives tomorrow. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Because then I can... I mean, I can glue with bead glue the ball bearings on. And I will do. Probably as this uploads. So for those who weren't around earlier, I finished off putting the beads on the sticks. I've coloured them. I've put the beads on. I have varnished them so they're safe to handle now. But I haven't put the ball bearing on the top. Mainly because the ball bearings try to fall off. And hence I kind of want the hot glue gun. Because while I have glued them on with copious amounts of bead glue, I do kind of have this horrendous feeling that they're going to try falling off. So if I can have some hot glue, hopefully that will work. I mean, the problem is that, you know, you're gluing the shiniest, smoothest round thing to a ring. So it's of bead, so it's not exactly got a lot that it can grip on. Hence I thought a bit of hot glue might help. Now I've got a hot glue gun, but it doesn't come with a small nozzle. So I bought a cheaper glue gun and a skinny nozzle so that I can, so it's got a 1mm nozzle for extreme precision engineering, e.g. sticking inside the hole at the top, because for those who are not aware, I need something pokey but small. That'll do. So there is a top of a pin. As you can see, it goes in the hole. So I can fill that then with glue and plop the bead in. Well, obviously not fill, but you know, put a load of glue in it, fill it in, plop the bead in, have the bead kind of stick to the glue with any luck, and have it as a, you know, hold that top bead on, but also, because again that's not held on by the most amount of glue, because I had to make the bobbin, the sticks thinner to get the bead on, so the bead is also only holding on by a small thread of decency. So yes, I think the hot glue gun will be good for the ball bearings. This makes you a bit shorter. I haven't eaten yet. Oh, I'm hungry. It's been one of those weird days. I had lunch, as I usually do, fairly early. Try not to laugh. I end up having my lunch usually around about 10:30, 11. Just because that's a good time. I'm hungry. I'm at home, therefore I will eat it, kind of thing, right? And then I'm usually good till later in the evening. But I had... Did I have... Oh, I had some Pepperami fire sticks. They didn't fill up much at all. That didn't help. That was not sufficient. So I had a couple of tortilla wraps with some sandwich pasty thing in it, which were really numb. I really enjoyed them. I really did. But again, I'd kind of eaten them and they were gone and I was still hungry. So today is clearly a hungry day. Surprising considering the heat, because normally I'm like most British people, less hungry in the heat. But clearly today my body is gone. I'm sorry. Food supplies are low. While I have sufficient fat reserves that I will not starve if I don't eat for a day or two, clearly my brain and throat would like to differ on that opinion and would like me to rectify the loss of food intake as soon as humanly possible. So I don't know what I'm going to cook though. Probably a pizza, because they're only like 10, 12, 15 minutes or something in the oven. Quite quick, so it's not exactly, you know, going to win best quality nosh for the day, but you know, there are times when you want quantity over quality. Could do some pasta, I suppose. Not that that's any better for me. Before you ask, no, there are no vegetables. That's not true. I have some sweet corn and some potato. I have some mouldy, skanky carrots that should be in the bin. That are currently not in the bin because they're not that mouldy. I'm not going to eat them like that. But if I put them in the bin, then they really will go skanky and horrible. So they're going to wait till bin day, which is tomorrow. Then they go in the bin. So as not to attract 8,000 flies. Because the fly is still picking on me, by the way. Well, the bad news is that that looks wrong. Now, we all know that Liz is... Yeah, that looks wrong. Now, it might... Yeah, you see, these all look like they've joined in a level too soon. If you look here, let me zoom you in. Hello, Phantom Bug. Hello. So let me just explain. Well, for some reason, my buttons don't want to work properly, but some of them do. No, only so my buttons aren't working, even though they worked the other day. Let me do this the hard way then. Where's the camera app? Thank you. So let me. No, that's where's zoomage maximus? There it is. Right. Let me. Is that really zoomed in? I don't think it is. No, that's down. So that's not it. So I'm not used to zooming in using the app, but for some reason it's being poopage. There we go. Let's do that, and then I want to go the other way. Hang on, up a little bit. So let me show you what I mean by it looks wrong. If you look at this corner here, well, if you look at here, these. No, it's just off camera. Of course, it's just off camera because I can't possibly have both on screen, right? So if you look at this corner, which is basically the same ordeal, you have like squoval, and then like the two prongs that go off into the leg. Here, if you look at this one, the leg seems to go to the top corner, not the one down, so they're all pointing upwards. I ain't going back and fixing that shit. We've already established this, but basically arse is definitely the arse is the name of the game, because, well, I've clearly screwed it up. But the amount of work to get back to this point, now that I've spotted it, I would have to undo this section, this cloth stitch section, this section here, and then I could go back. No. If I was making it for the king and being paid thousands and thousands of money, yes. But as I'm making it for me, this is the last square that we're going to do. And frankly, no. My heart is just not deeply in it enough to go back that far. I have previously gone back a reasonable way. So, for example, if I got to the end of this bit and discovered that something in here was wrong, I probably would still go back and fix that. But my general rule of thumb has been, once the pin has come out, I ain't going back again. That's just not happening. That is too much. It's a lot of twisting, it's a lot of grief, and given that, for example, it, takes like a couple of hours to do, say, this section and that bit, life's too short. And will I notice it? Yes. Well, I say yes because I will. But more realistically, no. And this is something that part of the reason this makes it a moot point is there are already mistakes in here. I mean, if I pull this apart and I'm zooming in again, but there's a bigger hole here than should be. I made a mistake there too. And in fact, it's quite common for me to go, oh look, there's mistakes. So at a quick glance, without being selective or anything, there's something funky here. There is funkiness that should be twisted and it's not. This, I don't know what I did, that should be twisted and it's not. Well, and this is the thing. While lace making is technically quite simple. For you lift thing A over thing B, either in a cross or a twist direction. I mean, that's really all there is to it. How can it go so wrong? So easily is the short answer. So, now, we are moving to, if you like lace, as you are a lace person, let me grab a thing of darkness, for a thing of darkness is required. I am changing to making my curtain out of strips. And part of the reason for that is this. Now, the decorations on said strips, there are 3 here after all, are undecided. We have a contest. So over here, which is off camera, oops, she says dropping one. That's because that's the spare one. So over here, I have, that's the original one, right? I have 3 strips to make, and there are various decorations. So there's strip 1, strip 2, and strip 3. Now, obviously, half of this one's empty, so that's fine. But they are the contestants for the end product. The snakes are going to stay. I like my snakes. They are definitely a winner. So the snakes are in. I have decided that the general aesthetic of this is okay. The question is how do I want to decorate in between the snakes? And it's not that I hate any of these. I just kind of want to check that, you know, this is my final answer. And some of these were more successful and less successful than others. This one I liked, but it's not very successful because it's a bit baggy, because it's a bit big, really. Too many pairs of bobbins making that. This was one of my favourite ones. I quite like how this turned out. This wasn't so bad. This was the original, but this was a test of joins. Now, one thing you will see on camera is the fact that this looks bold. And there's a reason for that, because it is. I'm not going to zoom in again, but this one I overlaid the loops at the edge with the loops at the other edge and sewed them together. We had a thing on chat where I lost my marbles at trying to explain some of what I was testing, because I had pins and bits of string and it was not going well. So this was the original thing, and I was quite happy with this. And on the grounds of this bold line between the 2 snakes, which looks fairly acceptable, I was going to swap to making strips. And then I did this join. Now this join is a lot less visible on camera. If anything, it looks more like a slight fold line of where it's been stored. That's not. It is because it is 2 bits butted together and sewed together. And there was a mistake in the edge, so go with that. But I have decided to convert to making strips. I need 1 metre strip, which is basically 4 of these put together lengthways. Or technically 4 of these put together lengthways, because as you can see they're slightly longer. But yeah, 4 of these put together. Hence I have 4. Because I did print one out and then I glued it all together, and then it dawned on me I could do with the practice joining them. So the idea is that originally I was going to start at the top. That's the bomb. Start at the top, and then obviously it joins together here like this, and then this one at the bottom, and make it in one piece. But I decided against it because I decided that because my eventual window will be 6 pieces wide, if I do each of the 3 and add them on the end, I know they won't be even and it's not like I'm going to use it, but I can check the width and happiness of project along with all of my testings and put them on the window and look, because a lot of it is about the shape. It's not really so much about the picture. But one of the things that is quite noticeable on camera, because bear in mind you're only a 2-inch screen on my screen, I can see that there are bits here. This stands out the most, but this completely disappears. and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But we have lots of contestants. I did do a single rose ground over here to see how much it stood out, and it does show, so it features on the contestant wall for a spot in the middle, because obviously what I could do is bigger thing, because this is a bigger thing, a slightly smaller thing, but I could do big thing spot, big thing spot. Well, yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Now, an awful lot of it is personal choice. Now, it's going to be up in my window. But one of the key principles of my window is, while I'm aware it's a window, because, well, hello, I'm making a lace curtain for it. Of course I'm aware it's a window. But I only see it twice a day, for it's at the top of my stairs. So I see it first thing in the morning as I go towards the stairs, because it's, if my stairs was here, the window's at the top on the right. So on the way to the stairs from my bedroom, which is over here, I would see the window. But I'm not really awake at that point. And by the time I go to bed, well, A, it's generally to the side of me or behind me, and it's dark. So it doesn't have to be the most utmost thing of beauty. Now, would I love for it to be one of those like 16th century or whenever it was, you know, kind of chantilly shawls with frills and pictures and beauty? Yes, I would. My sanity would not. Now, to be fair, they made their shawls like this to an extent, in that they joined them together, but they did not use torchon. They used buck's point or chantilly lace, which is the same shit. Now, as we all know, there are two ways round a square. You can either go from here up and round, or from here up and round. This is basically the difference between chantilly and buck's point. In buck's point, you do cross, twisty, twisty, twisty. In chantilly, you do twisty, 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 cross. Or you can do closed chantilly, which of course is cross, twisty, twisty, twisty. So it can be the exact same shit. Hence, they have a lot of very similar design. Now, advantages and disadvantages of this was that we did try this. And we made the infinitely smallest of samples, of which I can only see one, because, well, you'll see why I can't see them very much. Here is my sample. I made it the size of a postage stamp. Now, I did try a method of joining on it, and it was perfect. Oh, for ads, of course, there's ads. We shall return to that. I could do with a hammer, yeah. Smack it! Nauticelt's telling me I could do with a lace maker's hammer. Yeah, I need a hammer, I need a hammer. I have a wand of user bashing. That's what I really need. For those who are not aware, a wand of user bashing is a 6-foot lump hammer. You bash the users with it. No. Funny enough, work usually object to this. Yeah, Nauticelt's getting a bit of delay, so believe me, Nauticelt, I fully understand. Right. Delay is the bane of all streamers, because by the time they've said something and you've responded to it, they've moved on 6 conversations. So, alright. Yes, you are a streamer. I can hear you. Nauticelt, I can hear you streaming. Don't pretend you're not. I have Nauticelt talking in my ear. Ad's over! Yay! So I made the little tiniest buck point square. And I made the join. And it was utterly invisible. So was my sanity. Because you need to do... The reason it doesn't work so well with torchon is in buck's point, obviously normally you work in pairs, right? But because you do cross and then twists, only one bobbin moves. So out of a pair, if this was a buck point one, this would say cross, so you get this one moving over, and then these two would twist like this. So this one would come over. Well, what you do to make your edge is you have a single bobbin on its own. So you start like this, you have 3, and you do the same work, and this one just goes around a pin. Then when you want to join them together, you can intertwine a secondary thread around these posts without adding bulk, right? So this is how it works, and it does work beautifully. But of course, if you do not strongly attach your spare thread, well, as you can see, she says picking it up again, if I put my hand over it, there, actually you need the dark thing really, hang on, grab my dark bit of felt cloth. As you can see here, it comes out, right? As a result of coming out, well, it came out, the thing that was joining the two of them together fell apart because, well, the thing that was holding them together fell apart. And well, that proved to be a big pile of poo. So, I had solved how they do it, but only to the extent of, not going to do that, my sanity is not strong enough. Now, again, should someone ask me to make something for the king, and I'm going to be paid many thousands for my troubles, fine. I am making progress. I have made lots of progress, especially in making a bobbins. So let me get my proper bag of bobbins. For the finished bobbins, no, that's not the finished bobbins, that's the other bobbins. These are the finished bobbins, the ones with the little hat and the bow on, so that I can tell them apart. Hang on a moment, let me extract one from my bag. So the finished bobbins actually have ball bearings on the top, but this is the thing that I have been making, and I have a big bag full of them. Hang on, if I scrunch it down a bit, I can show you. Look, 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 here's my big bag of bobbins. So those are the finished bobbins with ball bearings and everything. Yesterday evening we set about gluing beads to the 10 odd that I'd coloured. We do like the Potty Harry bobbins. I especially do like the Potty Harry bobbins. And yesterday, although Nauticelt slept through this one, I think, I coloured more of my sticks. So to give you an idea, you start off with a stick, right? You then colour them with the ever so complicated Sharpie, in my case. Now, I did buy a wood dye, and there is one bobbin that I did with the wood dye, but it's not as blackety black as the black ones, even though its colour is black. It was not as black as a Sharpie, and I really liked the Sharpie black. So I have a pile that I made that don't have ball bearings on at this time, but otherwise are usable. So I now have enough bobbins to make one of these strips, which is basically this much. A mere 84 pairs of bobbins, please note. Sorry, 84 bobbins, not pairs, dear God, no, not 84 pairs. I'll kill myself. But I also do have a couple of longer ones, just because, well, I can. So I do have a couple of longer bobbins. So for scale, they are just a bit longer. But were the original 2 that I made. Which I like, don't get me wrong. But I decided I'd go with slightly shorter ones for the actual event. but I really like them. So you find some beads that you like. In my case, they're all metal beads, so these actually weigh quite a bit. I then put matte varnish, not that you can tell because the light's shiny, but matte varnish over the top, because the Sharpie can muff, but also to give it a bit of protection. And yeah. Now my only concern is that ball bearings, being ball bearings, are inherently very shiny. It would have been nice to have matte ball bearings, to be honest. So why do I sound like I've got a game in my ear? I know why. I need to turn this off. There we go. That's better. And so we are in a position, we have all my bobbins to make the strips, so I can wind the bobbins to make the strip, to make the contestants, to decide what will be in the strips, and then we can, when we, by the time, because obviously we're about to get to the end of this triangle, which means we've basically got 2 weeks of triangle left. So by the time we get to the end of triangles, I kind of want to be already part of the way through testing the contestants for my decoration of curtain. Because when I get to the end, I kind of want to be in a position to go for it. Now, I wanted to make my strip with these bobbins, just on the off chance I actually hate them. I hope not. I don't think so. But maybe I will. You never truly know. One thing that is quite nice is that although they roll, because it's got these textured big beads at the bottom, it does make it so that they roll. They will roll, but they also naturally come. They kind of got a dampener effect, so they roll. I know you can't really see over there, but they do roll. But they have like a dampener effect to it, and they kind of naturally have a bit of a resting point. So they shouldn't blow and, you know, wander around my pillow too much, which is a bit of a lace maker's curse. Well, they'll certainly, I mean, to be honest, all bobbins will do the job. And I have many bobbins. Now, previously, we used for the strips these ones, which I do love also, do not get me wrong. So I use these, which are the same length as the slightly longer ones. But these do roll very easily because, well, they're round and they're wood. Now, these are heavier than these because these are infinitely light. But these are heavier than the average Midlands bobbin, which I hate because I don't do spangles. They just get on my nerves. So, that kind of is a frustration. But I have many kinds of bobbins. I've got Honiton bobbins. They're called toothpicks in my world. I know that they're Honiton bobbins, but they really have... I mean, you know, this is almost the same size as a Honiton bobbin. It's not. I have one somewhere, but it's buried on my table of doom, which is looking a bit crowded at the moment. But it is one of those frustrations, is that while a bobbin, basically... yeah, I absolutely hate spangles. Thank you for the follow. For me, I think the biggest problem I have with spangles is just the fact that they latch onto each other and get in knots. And these do that with the mushrooms part on the top, in that sometimes you'll notice that they've kind of come together, and I've tried to do something and that doesn't look right. You should be twisted. There you go. And the thread's kind of strangling around the bobbin and hiding about where it's supposed to be. And this does make it very complicated. So, I'm not going to pretend my bobbins are perfect. In an ideal world, they'd have a bit of something in the middle to put through the sticks so that there would be a blobble kind of here to divide where the neck of it is and where the body is, so that it, you know, there'd be there'd be a bead or something in it. Now, I did buy something, but they lied about the size, which is that over here somewhere. There they are. I bought these. Now, they don't look very exciting, but if I know they're shiny, but I don't know if you can see, they're little rings. Bear in mind, that just looks really blurry on my camera because it's 2 inches wide, but they're little tiny rings. Now, here was the thing. They said they were 8mm rings. No, they were 7mm rings with a 1mm thickness of band. Well, 7 minus 2 gives you 5. The sticks are 5. These should have been the perfect size. They're not. They're too big. Otherwise, I was going to glue a ring kind of in the middle so that it had a little bit of something to stop them sliding out of the sticks. Now, to be fair, the beads at the end do, to a portion of, do that. I've just worked out what I can hear. Why can I suddenly hear that? Oh, I know why. There it goes. For those who are wondering why I was confused, it took me that long. I know I said I could hear game music and then I turned something off. It wasn't that, right? And the reason I was confused is because the music I was listening to is the music I'm playing to you, which I can't hear. Because I can't hear the music that you hear on my stream, because I don't play it to myself. I know it sounds really stupid, but I don't. Why would I, right? I know what it sounds like. I put it there. But I could hear it quite loudly. And my brain was going, but my music's quite quiet. Why can I hear... And it took me a while to realise it was that music, even though I know the music quite well. And the answer is someone whose stream I had had on pause and had been ignoring for a number of hours, obviously closed their stream, bounced it onto someone else. Somehow Twitch had then decided to activate that stream, and rather than just kind of bouncing me on pause or just leaving it where it was, like you would expect with, say, a paused DVD, no. It bounced me to the new stream, which was also playing the same music, only now, of course, it was playing it. And I was wondering where the music was coming from. And it really is that meme. My mind is, you know, there are 23 tabs open, one of them's playing music, and I don't know where it's coming from. That's exactly what was going on in my ears. I'm sitting there going... And then I suddenly recognised and went, oh, that's this music. And then I had an idea what to look for. I just knew I could hear music that wasn't mine, and it wasn't Nauticelt's, and I was getting a bit confused because it was quite loud in my ear, and I just didn't know where it was coming from. But I'm fixed now. That's a good thing. It's a lot quieter in my ear. My ear appreciates that. Because I do suffer... One of my autistic things that I do suffer from is... No, it wasn't your music, Nauticelt. It was not your music, Nauticelt. It was Ferret Software's music. Because Pirate Software had stopped streaming. Even though he was on pause, because I was watching it earlier. Yeah, my autism does struggle sometimes when I'm trying to concentrate. I have one of two problems. It's either got to be shut up or I need music. And I won't know which it is until it happens. I will tell you of the tale. When I was at school, I did not do too well at school, but when I was at school, I went to sit my A-level mocks, and I walked into the maths exam, and I sat there for 40 minutes, and I stared at it like it was written in a language I did not comprehend, and I just sat there looking at it. And I mean, literally, I barely written my name on the top of the paper. I just sat and stared at it and was like, I have no idea. It was one of those. It wasn't even, oh, I know it's something a bit like this. No, no. My brain just sat there and went, no. Anyway, it was a hot day. We were all in the gym hall, as inevitably school exams seem to be done in gym halls. And some toe rag came and sat outside the back of the school, the gym hall, with a tape, a big one of those big cassette radio things that we used to have. Can't use the word we used for them back then, but anyone who's old enough will know exactly what I mean. Anyway, their music box, they played the horrendously awful tune of Hey Mona by Craig McLachlan. Now, he played some crappy character in Neighbours at the time. Ghetto blaster, that's the word I was looking for. Not the other word that came to mind. Thank you, Nauticelt. But at least you know what I meant, right? And we endured most of the rendition of Hey Mona. Now, I can't say I liked the song particularly, but it has always held memory for me since this day. For having listened to a little bit of Hey Mona and my brain kind of gone, Hey Mona, ooh, whatever there, you know, I only really remember that bit. But anyway, teacher scurried off to go and beat the living daylights out of said person who had dared interrupt these students, and you've jeopardised their exams. You could hear all the shouting outside, right? By the time all of that was over, I looked at my maths paper. I finished it in 20 minutes and got 98%. So, I'm sorry. There are days when my brain likes music, and there are days when my brain does not like music. And that was a day when my brain liked music. It could have gone the other way, of course. It's one of the advantages I find of working from home. Where our office was full of a bunch of noisy idiots, and, you know, we're all the first to admit we're a bunch of weirdos. But our office was always very noisy. People, you know, talking to idiots on the phone, and probably deaf people. Then there, of course, was the handyman who actually was deaf, you know, and so he did shout at everybody, and then he tended to shout back as well, you know. Anyway, so, you know, concentration, again, if you were after quiet, this was not the room for you. If you wanted noise, it was the perfect room. If you needed utter chaos, this was the office for you, right? So, you know, and there were days when I wanted to, you know, slap everyone, because today was obviously a quiet day for my brain, and it wanted nothing and serenity, and it was not getting it. Or today was a noisy day, and it was happy to be part of that. So I'm glad, because when I'm at home, because if I want a noisy day, I turn the music on. If I want a quiet day, I turn the music off. And I don't turn it on in the first place. And so, you know, I can have, but of course I can also control the level of whatever it is. Because one of the other things that, I don't know about you, but if you have something really, really quiet, and I mean, you can just about hear it level of quiet, like it's on quiet in another room, and occasionally you hear snippets or chunks of it, but not enough to actually, like, appreciate it or not appreciate it. All you just hear is occasional things. It's like listening to half a phone conversation. You can't really get involved and into it because you can only hear half of it. And my brain absolutely hates that. It hates being able to tell there's a noise, but not what it is. It needs to be loud enough that I know what it is, and either it's, you're on the last lap, yay! You've been working the long end round though, haven't you? You worked the long end round, I know you did. For anyone who has not understood, Nauticelt is making a... Really? When I logged in after work, Nauticelt had 99% of a hot mat kind of thing, a large hot mat, kind of this sort of size, right? That he's done in his rope stuff, and and it was looking really, really nice. And there was a little tail that was obviously like a little stubby tail here, and a long bit of rope that kind of wandered off down off the edge of the table to the, let's call it what I'm referring to as the long end, right? Anyway, when I joined, he was chasing some slack out of the pattern, and it was looking really good. And anyway, he obviously I interrupted him by talking to him, poor soul, and he was doing this, and he was doing this, and he went, "Oh, I'm going the wrong way." And it's like, well, no, that's the way you were going originally. It's like, there was kind of is it, isn't it, kind of moments. Anyway, Nauticelt picked a direction in the end and went that way, and now the short end became longer. Now, obviously, to me, the layperson of non-rope making thing, I would have gone, arse, that's the wrong end, pushed it back and then chased it all the way round back to the long end, because then I'd have the short end and the long end would get longer. Nauticelt chose the other option, which was to work the really long end round to where the short end had been, to make the long end now the short end and the short end now the long end. Nauticelt, you've got way more patience than I do, hun. Yeah, seriously, dude. I am thoroughly impressed, but of course, it does make me laugh, because obviously, if you kept going clockwise, you would have ended up where I said. Would you not? Was I not right in this sense? Now, obviously, there was potentially some slack in the shorter end that needed taking up and that hadn't been, and I'm not going to pretend that that's not a thing, because I'm not there. I can't entirely tell how slacky or not slacky some of these rope passes are. But at the same time, it was like you had like a 2-inch nubbin almost out of one end and a few meters out the other end, and now you've worked it to be the other way around, and it's taken you 5 hours. So I am not alone in my frustration of spending an awful lot of time getting nowhere fast. Nauticelt has very much joined us on this quest today. There you go, 6 hours and 40 frigging minutes, dude. That's a long time. And all you've achieved is making the short end long and the long end short. Obviously it is neater and tidier, I'm not going to pretend that it's not. But realistically, that's what you've achieved in your 6 hours and 40 minutes. Yeah, I can imagine that you're now sitting there going, I'm going to drive down and slap her. Yeah. Well, to be honest, I am really interested in how your mat starts, because obviously I understand that once it's all kind of in place, the evening it all out and making it look prettier and tidier, and totally get that, absolutely. But I do kind of, I would love to see how you start, because obviously once it's all in place, and whether it's saggy and baggy or not, is there to be sorted. But it is I mean, it's a bit like looking at my lace work and knowing that there aren't any knots. There's a bit of you that goes, so how does that work then? And so I would love to see a start of one at some point. At some point when you start one, I would love to see. Now, I don't get notifications of you going live on Facebook, so you'll have to tell me, but I would love to see. I definitely would love to see how you start one off. That sounded really rude, but you know what I mean. It's crafting world. Lots of things sound rude in a crafting world. Yeah. Yes. But Nauticelt's little mat is very, very lovely. Sadly, Nauticelt can't seem to stream on Twitch, so I can't send you over to Nauticelt to go and have a look, because he's not on Twitch. He is on Facebook, however. And you can see him there. Anyone who's interested can go and see what we're talking about. Or hear the other side of the conversation, perhaps. That would be also an option. Listen to both and get really confused. So yes. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I imagine yours is a little bit like mine to an extent, in that you can draw a line and follow it round on the piece, on a piece of paper underneath it. So, right, I have far too many bobbins out. Let's put some away in sticks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sticky, sticky, stick. I know what we haven't done for a while. We haven't done... Where is it? Stick, 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 stick. I assume that worked, because of course I can't hear that either. So. We hadn't had one of those for a while. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I think, given that it is 9:10, I am hungry and I want food. And much as I will love you all very, very much, I'm going to upload this video, glue some ball bearings on, and probably watch Nauticelt chasing his slack round. And I tell you something, if he ends up doing it so that now the long end becomes the short end and goes back all the way he came, I may be on a road trip to Wales. But we shall see. I'm just looking to see where he's at and what he's doing. Oh, he's still going anti-clockwise. That's okay. I'm still good. He's still good. I was going to say, if I'd come back to watching him going clockwise again and now making the short end sure. But yes, I do encourage you to stop by and watch Nauticelt making his rope mats, because they are quite... Now, he does get to use a hammer with his, for which I am very envious. Because, frankly, smacking things is very therapeutic. We all know this. After all, there is a beautiful meme that says, many of our co-workers are only alive because it's illegal to kill them. So, but smacking things with hammers is always slightly therapeutic and enjoyable. Yep, there you go, smacking it again. I definitely can. It's almost worth taking up rope mat making just so I can smack things with hammers. I've got some good hammers. I have history with a hammer. I will tell you a story about my soul. And Nauticelt's thinking I'm never going to tell her where I live now. I was 16, 17 kind of age. And I was round a friend's house. And my friend was a local student. And I'm sitting talking to my friend, and one of his other friends knocks on the door and goes, hello. And it was like, hi, how are you? There was a, kind of thing. We all sat there chatting while, my friend was doing something. And they needed something out of their toolbox. And I reached in and I pulled out this really awesome hammer. I mean, it was a thing of beauty. This thing was weighty. It was like a 5-pound barbell, right? And it had a huge head on it. It was like, it was kind of a proper club hammer type thing. But it wasn't a club hammer. It was a normal. Fair enough. But I watched this guy, and I picked up this hammer, and I was doing this with it. As Nauticelt, I've got history for waggling things and, inopportune things. Let's use this as a pretend hammer. And I was doing this with it because the weight of the hammer was really quite nice, and it was quite a therapeutic feel to it. And this guy, my friend's friend, who I'd never met before, by the way, went, "You wouldn't hit me with that, would you?" "Yeah." Whack! I smacked this dude. I smacked this dude just under the kneecap with this like 5-pound hammer. Anyway, obviously he swore, we all laughed, and time moved on. Years later, my friend got married, and at his wedding, I'm sitting in the thing, and lo and behold, there is the dude I hit with the hammer, right? And with his wife, and it was kind of like, "Hi Clive, how are you?" And when he went, whatever her name was, "This is the girl who hit me with a hammer." I was forever the girl who hit him with a hammer. This story had obviously been told quite a lot, so I have history with hammers. I'm not scared to use a hammer. I mean, I don't know what possessed me at the time to whack him with it, because I can tell you now, it wasn't a love tap. It was, it wasn't full effort, but it wasn't. I mean, if I'd hit a nail with that, it probably would have gone straight in, because it was a full arm length sweeping motion. The momentum alone would have meant it hurt like a mother. And poor bloke, I'd smacked him with it. I'm impressed I didn't break his leg, to be honest. I mean, I know legs are hard to break, but even so, I did hit him significantly with it really was. I mean, I wouldn't like to have dropped it on my toe, let alone been hit with it. So, but at the time, it seemed the thing to do, so I did. And I just didn't think about it whatsoever. So, poor old Clive. I hit him with a hammer. So I had previous with hammer. Maybe that's why I keep them in a toolbox far, far away. Because, I'll hit things with them. But yeah, poor old Clive. He did forgive me. I mean, it was very much in jest, "This is the girl who hit me with a hammer." It wasn't like, traumatised, I've been seeing therapists for years over that kind of moment. But even so, I still hit poor old Clive with the hammer. And it wasn't like he'd forgotten either, so, because it must have been 10 odd years. Right, let's take a photo of that. So, I shall see you all, hopefully again tomorrow. Hopefully I would say it's going to, hopefully it'll be cooler, but we know that's not going to be true. So it's going to be hotter tomorrow. That's just mourn a moment for our sanity on that department. But I shall be back tomorrow, as is kind of the way of things. I'm just going to put my pile of cloths over the top, and then my ultimate cloth to protect coverage to keep it tidy. So yes, I shall see you tomorrow. It's been lovely seeing you. I know it's only been a couple of hours, but going to upload it. Well, I'm glad you're fascinated, and to be honest, Nauticelt and I had a little chat about this earlier, is that while this is not, here to teach you how to do lace, one of the things that I think they tried to do in school but always failed at was that part of the reason they made you do a number of subjects for a couple of terms and then moved you on was to give you a taste or visibility of subjects you may not have thought about. Now, obviously, in a school environment, they are very limited by the fact that they've got to teach 30 kids minimum, insert whatever subject it is. And they can't have, 6,000 different subjects. But they can give you a bit of a taste in a direction and for you to go, you know what, actually I find that interesting and maybe look to do that in the future. Now, obviously, when it comes to being at school, most kids didn't want to be at school, so really didn't care. But, it's... If you choose, sometimes it can be fascinating watching someone do something you don't. And, as I say, I've been watching Nauticelt do his rope thing. I've never done that before in my life. But it doesn't make it less interesting to watch, because it's not something I know how to do. I mean, I'm watching it and going, well, technically, there is no reason I couldn't try. Will I be trying? Maybe not. Will I? But on the other hand, maybe I will. Maybe I'll have a small go on a smaller version of something. See how it turns out. But I saw, for example, the other day, a lady who was doing lace making, but she was using mohair knitting wool. Now, this sounds like a tragedy, because mohair knitting wool is fiendish at the best of times. But she was making a scarf. I could possibly do coasters, yes, Nauticelt, I probably could. But she was doing a scarf with mohair wool. And because it was quite open and obviously lacy, because it's lace making, duh, right? But she had this beautiful mohair scarf that she was making. Now, her only criticism was it was taking her a lot longer than she thought it would. Well, I know that how little I get done in an evening, so I'm not surprised that it was not growing fast. It would have been a damn sight easier to crochet or knit it, but it would look different. But what she had was a very beautiful, kind of based on like the spider scarf patterns that are doing the rounds. But she'd done basically spider scarf with gimp threads between them, and it was looking really pretty. She had very fine mohair doing the spiders, and then instead of it going straight into another spider, she had like one row of ground so that there was a gap, but in that gap she was running the gimp threads, and it made a kind of wiggly shape down lengthways, and it was beautiful to look at. And it is that kind of thing, is that just because traditionally lace involves infinitely small threads and pins does not mean that, for example, Nauticelt here couldn't do some with his rope. Now, it might be a bit wasteful because you'd need to make quite a big thing, but with thinner rope, obviously, he showed me some thread. I won't call it thread, but he showed me some string. Let's call it a bit nearer string, because rope's a bit full sounding. That was 1mm kind of string, right? Well, you could do lace making with that and make a wall hanging, and the detail wouldn't be lost, because if I'd used some of my strip yarn, which is a thread, which is 60/2 kind of weight thread, which is like human hair crap. Well, if you did that on any fine detail, it would be lost at a distance. So you need something bigger so you can see from the other side of the room that it was worth it. You don't really want to walk up to it and leave a snot trail on it to see what's going on. And so having something like that you could effectively use lace making techniques to do that, but with more rope style produce, paracord, etc., right? And suddenly you've got a kind of halfway house, something similar. looking at Nauticelt's map that he's making, well, using a lace technique, you could try and do kind of some semi-hidden joins with much smaller threads and make it like a tablecloth, but with the heat mat built in the middle. Now, it would be more of a macrame looking style thing, but again, the heat mat in the middle could be his beautiful rope work, with then more lace making techniques used to decorate the rest of the cloth aspect, right? And of course it would all be outdoor proof because it would be made out of rope. So, and the faintest breeze wouldn't tear it to pieces. So, like lots of things, there are, many crafts have similarities and crossovers and bits that are kind of similar but different, but resonate in a similar way. I mean, I did corn dolly making. Well, to do corn dolly making, all you do is bend the straw. That's it. Bend the straw. Bend the straw. And the more straws you have, you make hexagons, squares, whatever, and you join them together. And there's tying a few knots at the end and the... Okay. Sounds like a plan. But, there are lots of things that we do have between us that, all of the crafters, whether it's spinners, knitters, crochet, cross stitch, there are things that draw you to watch someone else working and appreciate the level of work and art form that they do. And so we like seeing other things. And even if it's not a thing we choose to do, we appreciate that somebody else does. I can see that. So Nauticelt's doing a very... Well, it's the same shape he's making now, but with different bits of rope. So he's got 2 darker ones in the middle and 2 light ones on the outside. And it's a big Celtic knot with lots of twirly bits in it. And it's very pretty. It is amazing how different it looks because it's got the gaps in it, but also because your mind is drawn to the darker bits in the middle that make it look much further apart than it really is. But I do like your solid one that you're working on. Aha! That's more normal. I've always had a thing for Celtic knots. I really have. I do love that. I love how flat they are. If I did that, it would poof into a big pile of anger. Yeah. If I did any of those, my biggest fear is I can imagine it. You see, this is it. I'm attracted to this, and more to the point, I look at it and I can see the path, so I can understand it. But what gets me is if I did that, it would just turn into like a cone of anger and all pop apart. Yeah, it's actually that's actually a lot more surprisingly stiff than I thought it would be, given that it's quite area in the middle. Yeah. That looks like leather cord. Okay. Yeah. I've got some ugly blue paracord. Believe me, it is. It's like blue. It's not subtle blue. It's the colour of your lighter blue. It's blue. The problem with everything is sometimes it's best to start... I mean, a lot of knitters will get really arsey with people who use acrylic knitting yarn. And the problem with, like a lot of things, is that, when it comes to knitting, yes, technically acrylic yarn, aka plastic, is not exactly the best yarn in the world. But it's not always the worst yarn either. For example, you can get some really soft, despite the fact that it's plastic, acrylic yarn. And when you've got something like baby blankets, acrylic baby blankets, not for warmth or for cot use, but for, you know, travel blankets and stuff, an acrylic blanket so that they can puke and crap on it, so that you can wash it to the nth degree and it will not take a stain because it's plastic, is ideal. I've got jumpers out of acrylic yarn because I actually like it. And yeah, an awful lot of knitters would almost do the, well, it's not merino and it's not yak and it's, oh, stuff off, right? Stop being snobby. I mean, we all would love to use the most perfect things and everything, right? No, but that's, you've said, an awful lot of kids could be allergic to wool. You're not going to be allergic to plastic, right? Now, it is kind of one of those things, is that this is where so much of it is, yes, I do appreciate. You show away, Nauticelt. We can watch. We can watch. I do see one. I do see one. That looks pretty. I want to see it. Show me the thing. See, that's pretty. That is beautiful. I love that. That is beautiful. Yeah, I love that. I can see the similarity and the difference. I know what you mean. Yeah. But you see, that's what I meant about if you do it in a decent size, you can look at that across the room and see the detail. Yeah, I think it's one of those things is that, you know, if you look at what Nauticelt's got on his table, it's one long sheet of rope that's gone round and 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 round. And it does underestimate the thing. Ooh, a triquetra. Hey. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, you know, we can see the shapes and we can kind of follow the logic, but to have got them all laying flat is interesting. Another day. But yeah, we like Nauticelt. Anyway, I'm going to go off and get me some food and possibly kebab a dog. Will you stop licking my hands? Mwah. But yes, thank you for coming, everyone, and we'll all keep an eye out for Nauticelt and his stream. So we need to know when you're streaming, Nauticelt. This is a thing. And we should... How could we not? Anyway, I shall see you all tomorrow. I'm sure Nauticelt will stream again. We'll try and persuade him. Take care, everybody, and we'll see. Hopefully we will all convene again another time.